and welcome to the Flag Motorsport podcast. My name is Charlie Roscoe, and as always, a very big welcome to Ryan and Willie. Thanks for joining me, gentlemen.
Hello.
G'day.
Now, MotoGP and V8 Supercars, or the Australian Supercars, as we were just discussing that appropriate name before. We'll start with the MotoGP, of course, was on the weekend from the Spanish MotoGP circuit, and something we haven't seen for a little while, Dani Pedrosa got himself on the top step of the podium.
He's come out of hiding, hasn't he? He's all grown up again.
Well, I can't even remember the last time that Danny dominated, I think, every session. Is there a session he didn't come out on top? Maybe an early practice or something, but he pretty much did the whole lot, didn't he? It was a clean sweep, clean weekend for him, something that old Dani Pedrosa hasn't done for a long time now. It was actually a really good performance by him.
It's nice to see someone else at the front.
Yeah,
Bit of a mix-up. He's been a bit of a sort of mid-packer for quite a while. It's kind of refreshing. The old fella.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think he'd been all that good for a while, especially once Marc Marquez came on board and started dominating. And I thought the same was going to be the case this time round because, of course, Marquez was on the hard compound front and rear tyre. But Dani Pedrosa went the hard front, I believe, and the medium rear, which I thought he would burn through. But I don't know, it's a funny thing with the compounds in MotoGP. They quite often don't really yield a great difference in pace. I guess I better move on to third place because it's not only is it surprising to see Dani Pedrosa back on top, but finally Jorge Lorenzo back on third.
It's funny, like to see him come up through the field a little bit. I don't know. I saw him get on, like, he was in a podium position, and I thought, oh, what are you doing there? I wasn't really that happy for him.
No, I was a little bit the same, actually. It's been kind of nice to see him fall from grace, especially after, he's obviously been very good for a while. He's got some championships under his belt. Yet another rider who thought he'd jump across to Ducati and cruise on through. I think Rossi probably started that form. And whilst we may sort of side with Rossi these days, back in the day, when Stoner was on there, copped a lot of criticism for being on a vastly superior motorcycle, which I don't think we ever truly believed was the case, but Rossi certainly did, jumped on the Ducati and, he was about as good as I would be, I think. He had a terrible time on the Duke. So I think the Ducati's changed a lot since then, don't get me wrong, it's a much more user-friendly bike now, and it's actually Jorge jumped across and struggled. Mind you, let's be honest, he's earning a fair old paycheck from it. It's not like he's slumming it out over at Ducati there.
No, unless it's, like when Dovi went there, I think it was really one of his only few choices. But everybody else has gone for the cash. Same as when Cal Crutchlow went there. Same for him.
Yeah. And it was a bit of an odd weekend for Dovizioso, actually, on the other Ducati. He just didn't seem to have the pace, did he? He just, for the first time, I really think Lorenzo looked better start to finish for the whole weekend. Dovizioso just kind of made up the numbers. Obviously, he did end up in fifth place, so it wasn't the worst weekend for him. But I don't know. He just never looked overly quick the whole time.
No, I don't think his one-lap pace was really any good. He went all right in the race, but it was probably due to a few other people going terrible, I guess, like Valentino Rossi, back to 10th.
Yeah, that was actually really, really bizarre. I mean, it was both the factory Yamahas. I don't want to sort of pin the whole thing on him. Obviously, Maverick Vinales wasn't overly good, although he kind of grew through the race. He got stronger. He was with Rossi. They were together for the longest time. And I think he kind of got a little bit stronger towards the end. I don't really know how you turn the pace on, because I think the Yamaha was actually not very good on the hard compound tyre, which is why they both wanted to avoid it, I believe.
Yeah, well, all the pace went to crap in the end. Like I think it was about 4 laps to go. Pedrosa was in the 140s and Rossi was in the 144s.
Yeah. Rossi's pace at the end was almost inexplainable. I mean, they do the slow-mo pictures of the front tyres as you're coming in, and honestly, I expect to see massive chunks of rubber coming out. He was travelling something like 4 or 5 seconds a lap slower than Dani Pedrosa in the lead and Marc Marquez, but he was also travelling still 3 odd seconds slower than, I think it was Scott Redding at the end chasing him down. So it was a really bizarre thing, and as I say, when I saw the slow-mo of the front tyre, I genuinely expected that that he was going to have huge chunks of rubber ripped out of the tyre, but it didn't look that bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's something got in his head, because I think when you're out there racing on a motorbike, if you have a couple of front end tucks, then that can really upset. If you sort of have a few moments where you're like, geez, I've nearly binned it there, I've hung on, and obviously the cameras weren't on Rossi all that much, so it's not something that we got to see. But yeah, a bizarre downturn in form, and I think he's a very lucky boy because he's actually managed to come out of this round still leading the championship.
Yep.
Which is good, which is great. I'm happy to see that. I'm still all behind Rossi getting his 10th. After his 10th, I'm not even going to go for him anymore. Who cares? Let's find the next guy. But I'd love to see him get his 10. But he's come out of it well. So if this is his bogey round for the year, then I think he's probably come out of it quite good. It's better than a DNF.
Yep.
That's for sure. He's still got a haul of points.
Yep. I think if he can stay on the bike for the whole year, I think he should be in good stead because he does have a couple of strong rounds, and the other guys, although Honda seem to be lifting their game a little bit, there's not really as many crashes in like practice or anything like that for Marquez. But
yeah. No, I think Marquez is probably. I'm just really surprised Marquez never hunted Pedrosa down. I think the Yamaha boys were probably right. There just wasn't a lot of pace in that hard rear. And if you look at who won, obviously Marc Marquez unable to keep up with Pedrosa with the hard rear. I think the Honda was probably the bike to be on this weekend. It definitely looked the strongest. Lorenzo was on medium. No, is that right? Was that medium or soft? I can't remember what Lorenzo was on.
No, I can't recall what he was
mediums. On. Yeah, I think he was on medium front and rear, and so was Zarco. So yet again, I'm going to bring this guy up. It's been basically every round of the MotoGP I've talked about this guy. Seriously, I think he's a huge talent. He's going to be a big deal. The way he's throwing that bike, top finishing Yamaha.
Yep.
He was quick. He was looking. Yeah. But he burnt through his tyre a little more than Lorenzo did, and Lorenzo's silky smooth. You'd expect that. Pretty hard, especially for a rookie, a few rounds in to be, riding as smooth as someone like Lorenzo. So that's not entirely surprising, but nonetheless, he came fifth. And he finished 2 spots in front of the fastest factory Yamaha. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Zarco's going to be a big deal, and he's going very, very well this season, I think.
Yeah, on a charge early. Like left Rossi and Vinales easy. His early pace is quite astonishing so far. So, it'd be nice to see him on the podium.
Yeah.
Maybe something weird happens in one of the races. He might get a win. You never know.
Yeah, that's it. And again, he was on the medium. So, I'm trying to think Dovizioso. I've got a feeling he was actually on the double mediums as well. So what you've got is the top 5 riders on a medium rear, which leads me to believe the hard rear was no good. Hence, the Yamaha boys avoided it. But Rossi with the hard front. Don't understand why he was so bad. But anyway, that was about it. Probably not the most riveting of race. Oh no, we did miss one thing actually. Especially as an Australian, we should be bringing this up. Jack Miller. Bit of a shame that obviously you had the crash.
I can't remember seeing the whole incident. I only remember seeing him slide out. I think Bautista collected him. And then he pushed him over and got a fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't actually see the incident. I don't think they showed it. The only thing we could go off was the way that Miller actually reported it when he wrote his little article for Red Bull, as he does after each race. He basically said that it was getting, pushed around, shoved around quite a bit off at the start of the race. That obviously got him a bit hot under the collar, and I don't know what happened in the end, but he says that Bautista came dive bombing from a mile back, washed the front, took Miller out, and it was a bit of a shame. I think Miller could have been okay, although even he didn't seem to have a lot of pace in the race, which is surprising given how competitive he was in qualifying and the practice sessions and things like that.
Yeah.
He looked really, really good, like potentially top 5, top 6 finish, which would have been amazing for him. Anywhere in the top 10, I think, at the moment. But I think, obviously, the incident, if you didn't see it, he after he picked himself up off the dirt, walked over, had a bit of a spray at Bautista, pushed him in the gravel, got fined for it, and that's fine. That's fine. As bad as the situation is, you can't push other riders around. That's just not on. That's not what the sport's about. So I've got no dramas. And they only fine him €1,000. It's not exactly pocket-breaking stuff, but... that was wrong, but I think maybe the pressure of the fact that he is out of contract at the end of the year, because of course he is an HRC contracted rider, which is they just don't really give away at all. So he was so lucky to get signed by 3 years. They've whacked him on this Mark VDS bike, and I don't think the bike's been competitive, but then people this year are saying he's on the same sort of machinery as Cal Crutchlow, and where's the pace? And I guess the reality is, apparently they've said to him that at the end of the year, if he wants to be re-signed for the team, because there's no more Honda placement, that contract will be up, and Honda almost certainly won't renew anything there. And on the Mark VDS, I think they've told him that if he can consistently get top 10s, then he might earn his spot back on the bike. So interesting to see if Tito Rabat gets the same word, because he is still rubbish. He was rubbish last year, he's rubbish this year, and I don't really know why they're keeping him around, but I'm tipping he brings a lot of money in.
Well, I don't think he is there next year, because they were talking about, I can't think of the Japanese rider in Moto2, and if he, I think, comes within the top 3 in the championship or something like that, he'll get brought up to MotoGP.
Yeah, okay.
On a Mark VDS bike, so I assume that's Rabat's spot. Mm.
Yeah, that and that makes sense. It'd be foolish to keep him around, but I think Miller's probably feeling the stress a little bit, because I don't know what will happen to Miller. Has he done enough to prove pace to get a ride anywhere else? I think certainly factory rides are not a reasonable target for him next year, but things like that is what causes brain snaps, and I think it's exactly what he had. There's no way he should have gone over and pushed Bautista, and he went and apologised in the pits, but it's too late. You can't undo it. It is what it is. So bit of a shame, but yeah, that was MotoGP. So I guess we move on to one of the other main races. Yeah, sorry, go Ryan.
Just quickly on the end of the MotoGP, it seems actually within the last hour that there's a political party in Barcelona which is trying to get rid of grid girls for next month's Barcelona MotoGP race.
Oh, I see. I haven't seen anything about that. So it's all about equality and all the rest, is it? Are they allowed to be male grid men?
That's the thing. So hang on, where is it? Yeah, so I mean, essentially, they're not trying to ban it, but they just, they want the clothing to be a little bit more respectable, and the potential for grid boys. Okay. I mean,
I think you could argue that grid men are on the grid every time anyway. You've always got the guys standing there, they help out, they've got the computers and that sort of stuff. They're as much grid people as the girls holding the umbrellas.
Well, that's it. And I mean, to be totally honest, being as to how much racing I watch, I completely forgot that they got rid of grid girls in World Endurance Championship last year, because I don't even pay attention to them. Like, I'm looking at the bikes, the people, the cars, whatever's going on. You're watching everything that's happening, and the girls are mostly just in the way.
Yeah, they just stand there with the umbrella. I mean, half the time, sometimes the cameras will look at it, for sure, but half the time they're just trying to move the girls out of the way so they can get a decent shot of the rider or the bike or what the team guys are doing. So, they have a job, and they're standing there holding the umbrella. Obviously, they're paid by sponsors to look nice. So, yeah, I guess, without raging into an equality debate, it wouldn't really worry me if they didn't allow them. I think there's probably I would imagine there's some sort of grid girl association somewhere that would be very disappointed and lose out money that's girls unemployed in the industry. Not that there's really a whole lot of females employed in the motorsport industry as it is.
It sort of goes
stamp out more.
It sort of goes back to what the whole Hamilton thing that happened a couple of years ago on the podium, where there was that big outrage where he sprayed the champagne in the girl's face. It's like, well, these females all choose to be there. They get paid to be there, and no one's saying that they have to do it. It's their option. They get asked. They say, yes, I'll do that. No worries. So, I mean, it's their choice if they want to do it. And from what I understand, the money's pretty bloody good. So,
I mean, they get paid a fair bit to sort of stand there holding umbrellas and handing them a drink bottle from time to time, and that's about it. So, as I say, as much as sure, it's I guess about equality, and maybe, I don't know. I haven't obviously looked into it. This is I'm hearing this for the first time, but I don't know. Like, I think if anyone's going to be disappointed, as I say, I bet you there's some sort of grid girls association or a business organisation that employs grid girls and things like that. That'll probably all be upset that they no longer have jobs. So,
The
How's
girls
that
will
for
probably get
equality?
disappointed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, the girls, they just lost a paying gig. It's an employment, is all it is to them. They're not doing it for free. They're not being made to do it. So I'd imagine they're going to be as disappointed as anybody else.
And who knows, they might not just be there for the money. They might actually like the motorsport and really like being that close to the... I mean, crap, get me on the grid right next to a rider right before a race, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll go and hold an umbrella. Yeah, it doesn't worry me. If I've got to wear short shorts, then so be it. I'll don the short shorts, put the tank top on, and I'll stand there. I don't care.
Exactly. So, yeah, who knows what the situation is with the individuals, but at the end of the day, it's their choice, and apparently these people are trying to make decisions on their behalf.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I wonder if anyone's actually asked the grid girls if they want to be standing there getting paid to hold umbrellas. Probably
It'd be an interesting conversation anyway.
It would, but no, very interesting. I suppose we'll find out how that pans out.
Yeah.
It's only going to be obviously one round, not the whole sport. So, we'll find out.
Knows? Moving on.
Yeah, moving on, and I guess next cab off the rank would be the Australian Supercars, which took place on the weekend, and another couple of sweeping victories for Scotty McLaughlin in that Penske-powered Ford. He's having quite a good run, and that team seems to be creating a bit of a habit of winning.
Yeah, definitely looking much stronger this year. Not that I'm too surprised of that, but it's very interesting to see just how much quicker they are. And when they stormed off at the start of race 1, I thought, oh God, like this. But for me, it was quite boring, like the whole race after that, because nobody could catch them. Everyone was doing the same speed, and it was very reminiscent of the Formula 1 days where from lap 1 you're looking after tyres, and that was it. There was overtaking, but none of it was legitimate because it was mainly because of, he's pitted 2 laps earlier than that person or whatever, and essentially it wasn't that exciting for me anyway.
Yeah, like it creates passing, so it's probably as exciting as it's going to be. But yeah, it's all about the tyre. Who can make it last, the right time to get in. You do the undercut on somebody. If you can make your tyre survive the time, you're going to go well. But I don't know. It was like the racing wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't that exciting considering there was quite a few passes and whatnot.
Especially given the track. I mean, the Perth track over there, it can quite often create some great passing opportunities. There's a few different spots. I mean, that I don't know what the corner's called, but it's essentially the right-handed bowl. I think they call it the bowl. Yeah, there's so many different lines you can take through that at different points of the race, and we've seen some great overtaking through there in the past. Of course, down into the final turn after the long run down the hill, lots of under brake passing there. There's kind of all sorts of stuff. So whilst it didn't eliminate overtakes, it was probably down, I thought, for the Perth track. And on top of that, as you were saying, it was as a result of the tyres. In fact, it's probably a good time to bring up, this is the second time in a row we've had a talk about the V8 Supercars and tyres have been brought up. Is there, what do you think? Have they got the tyres wrong this year? This is just a simple case of they don't have them right. The compounds aren't right and the racing's not right because of it.
It's too hard to say right now. When we get into other tracks like Winton and that, where they're a little bit more like what we're used to, because obviously going from Phillip Island, which is a extremely high load, high speed track, to Barbagallo, which is an extremely abrasive, high wear track, they're two increasingly tyre heavy tracks, so it's quite hard to say. Winton was obviously resurfaced a couple of years ago, so the track should be pretty good, and I think we might not see these sort of issues again. That's sort of my thought anyway.
Yeah, I think Winton should be pretty good. Like there wasn't the tyre test at Phillip Island, so they probably got caught out a little bit by that. And Barbagallo's hard on tyres, and because it's softer, I suppose that could have been the time. Oh no, it probably still would have done the same thing. I was going to have a dual compound race, so you got to stop within one of your stops. So whether you do a two stop or a 3 stop and chuck a different compound on, maybe. But I don't know. I don't
think it really would have worked that much because I mean, if you're looking at just the drop off rate of speed from the start of someone's stint to the end of a stint, you're talking about 2.5 seconds a lap, going from 57s to like 59s to 60 sort of thing. So, I mean, that's it's a big drop off, and that's obviously why if somebody got an undercut or something, they were just increasingly able to smash out a lot of overtakes or gain some serious positions because of that. But yeah, I mean, to put a harder tyre in there, would you come out? Yeah, you'd be able to go longer, but if you're already on that time, I think they'd probably make up more time just by doing an extra pit stop on a soft.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, potentially, exactly right. It's just, as you say, it is quite early. We've got some lighter load tracks coming up. But it's just disappointing that I think the last two, as much as this wasn't certainly in your face as much as at Phillip Island when you had tyres bursting everywhere and all the rest, the race was really dominated by tyre and tyre wear. As
it usually is, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. They all race
similar
on the
thing
same
over there.
tyres, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It was just interesting. That's 2 rounds in a row that we've had to talk about tyres as being a pretty large contributing factor to the overall racing, the overtakes, the everything really.
Yeah, well, because it's soft compound tyre. Like last year, you could get away with comfortably doing 2 stops, and I think that's when Lowndes did 3 last year and come through the field and look quite impressive. Where a lot of them did 3 stops this time. So yeah, the only exciting stuff really was probably in. Well, there's a few things in race 7, the first race, but it was Sunday's race which was better. As for, I don't know. Yeah, it lands at the start of the race with the electrical issue. As soon as he'd put his pit lane speed limit on, it had cut out, and then had to start a rear of grid. When he went to take his first stop, Rouleau turned him around. So like, he come back to 8th. So to be last and to have a spin and still come back to 8th, he probably had that's drive of the day.
He actually came 7th in race 7. That was the first race, wasn't it?
No. In the longer race, wasn't it? When he had the issues on Sunday?
Was it race 2? Was it? Sorry, yeah, he was 8th there. Yeah. Sorry,
yeah. So as Willie said, I mean, just a completely incredible drive, and in that category at that field, very good. Very good.
James Courtney isn't really having much of a run. That's funny because he said maybe Garth was right, maybe the car is possessed. Ryan Walkinshaw has tried to squash that and say no, it's not, but he wasn't having much of a run. And then there's strategy. I don't know what they mucked up there. He come in on lap 82 of 83 to have to put 15 litres in the car.
Yeah, that was just that's just a clerical oversight. Like someone at the team's just stuffed up. There's no other way around that.
Well, he wasn't going too bad at that stage, I think. I think he may have been ahead of Scott Pye, and he was around about the 13th or something like that. So, as far as a bad weekend goes, that's not that bad.
Yeah, but I mean, for that team in those cars and someone of James Courtney's caliber to be qualifying 20th, it's not really great when you got the young rookie who everyone was throwing stones at qualifying above him.
I think he qualified 24th in race 7, didn't he? The first race of the weekend.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, that's not ideal. And I remember at the end of the interview with Rihanna, she said, "Oh, hopefully things get better." And as he's walking away, he's turning around and says, "It can't get any worse." And I thought, well, that interview there sums up a lot of things that are happening at the HSV team at the moment.
Yeah,
it does. But it's funny, like you say. About the calibre of the team and everything like that, but they haven't really been a heavyweight team for quite a long time.
Oh, no. I mean, I would never be expecting them to be top 5 sort of stuff, but you would expect that James Courtney should be on the knocking on the top 10 every race.
Yeah, especially with how good of a driver he is, like the fact that he's coming 17th and 22nd in the second race. That's a really bad weekend. That's putting him down in the bottom 4 in race 2, and it's bad. He's not going well, and I think it was Scafie actually said he still considers him to be one of the top 5 drivers on the grid. So the fact that he's down there is there's got to be something going on. But I wonder with these the car is possessed because Garth Tander sort of said the chassis was no good. How much of that is the team putting him through tests, and as we kind of all know, tests don't prove in practice all the time. Sometimes on paper something can look absolutely perfect, but when you go out and actually do the thing that you've tested, it feels completely different. How much of it is the team doing like safety tests and stress tests and things going, no, it all looks fine, the numbers are in the normal ranges, but they're not feeling the weird things this chassis does? How much is it that, and how much is it drivers who are quite a weird bunch, actually, racing car drivers? They often have little little things, routines they have before the race, things like that. How much is it something like that getting in James Courtney's head and him sort of talking himself out of it? Rough qualifying, not feeling great in the car, all of a sudden for the rest of the weekend it's like, yeah, Tandem was right, there's something wrong with the car, the chassis is no good. Is it a mental thing, or do you think it's which way do you think that is?
It could be, but I think the main fact would be going back in the HRT repertoire, how long this has been going on for. It can't really be a mental thing.
Yeah. So you think the results speak for themselves? Because of course once it gets in Tander's head, he may well have just every race gone there. You get up out of bed, you're like, God, I gotta go and drive that car, which just isn't right. And you're telling yourself it isn't. You walk in going, this isn't right, this car. And
it could be a thing, but I mean, this is where it gets really odd for me. Garth Tander jumps in the car, in this brand new car at the back end of last year, right after getting told he's no good anymore, he's leaving, and just was sensational for the rest of the year. But what's happened to that car? That's what I don't understand. Where is this car that was really good? Has it been too long now that they've been building cars around Garth Tander, and they need to sort of throw all that out the window and create a brand new car? Because as it stands, the car that Erebus, a company who have only just started building Holdens, have built from scratch for David Reynolds is better than a car that HRT, as a sense, have built for James Courtney.
Yeah, it's probably time to have a good, long, hard look at themselves, and you're quite right. Maybe it's time to stop trying to hang on to the past, stop trying to fix old things, work on the case. Sometimes you got to burn it down just to rebuild it, and maybe you're right. That's what they've got to do. So
well, their other car, his pace seemed a lot better in the other car. He had a pretty good result, or come second, or whatever he did at Adelaide, didn't he? Didn't he go quite well at Adelaide?
We did discuss that team's always good at the street races.
Always good at it.
Yeah, but that was a brand new car as well. Yeah, this is the other one. So whether there's too much tension in one of the bars or something like that. Yeah. Or just a tiny bit more, something because Garth used to say that it was understeery and oversteery. It'd be understeery coming in and oversteery coming out of a corner. So which
is a pretty bad deal for any racer. I mean, it's hard enough to deal with one of them, but when you got both ends going, the understeer first, then the oversteer, you're going to have a bad time regardless of which racetrack you're on.
Yep. And the biggest thing was that it was unpredictable. Like, he didn't know when it was going to go.
Yeah.
So you had no confidence putting your foot on the throttle, which is kind of detrimental to your race.
I kind of feel like overall you're leaning towards the fact that this chassis might actually be a bit of a dud, and it's the team being stubborn, and I got to say I probably agree with that. I think there's enough historical data to show that something has to be up with this chassis. Maybe it's just time to scrap it, pull all the bits off it, bolt it on something else, and I know they will. They lost a chassis, but yeah, maybe it's time to just send this one back to the
that's the thing,
and
to take Garth Tander as a perfect attribute to that question, he got out of that car last year doing really well at the back end of last year. GRM have built 2 brand new Commodores after running Volvos last year, and they're coming into this with this Volvo mindset this year. Like, apparently they went to Phillip Island with the exact same setup that they ran in the Volvo last year, and it was absolutely horrible. So they changed everything, and then they were able to sort some things out. Garth Tander was quickest in practice on practice 1, which, it's obviously just practice, so it doesn't matter, but still. And then both James Moffat and Garth Tander are doing considerably better than what the HSV team are doing in these brand new cars that they're having to relearn.
Yeah, no doubt. You say they are relearning it from what they had last time. Like, Garth's 7th in the championship. James Moffat is 10th, who struggled in the Volvo. And then, 15th and 18th for Courtney and Scott Pye in the championship. They're going terrible.
Yeah.
Garth's actually going pretty good.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's fundamental issues. I think Scafie or someone over the weekend said that the HSV team needs to do a bit of a shake-up and a rebuild from. I think they only did that like 2 or 3 years ago, as it was. Adrian
or less, yeah.
Yeah, Adrian Burgess came on board, and they went through this whole process of changing the back end and fixing everything up in that aspect. But to still have these fundamental issues, and I mean, HRT hasn't really been a competitive powerhouse for 9 years. So it's like ridiculous that they can come into these races as the team that they are. And really, in the final sort of closing of the whole conversation, James Courtney says it best. He's embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I would be.
Yeah, I can't. It's hard to blame him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Especially if you're within the team, they'd be looking at things like where there were certain sponsors losing the factory backing and then just going terrible. He'd just be thinking, this is not the best place to be.
No, I agree. So. Moving on to probably the final race that we're going to discuss is the Blancpain GT3 race over at Brands Hatch. Beautiful circuit. Do love that circuit.
One of my favourite.
I agree. And just looking at it on the YouTube stream, which by the way I'll pop down the link, but I'll pop a link in the description either. But if you don't know how to watch the Blancpain series, it is a good series to watch. And as I've mentioned before, it is streamed live with the recording saved on YouTube on their GT World channel, so I'll pop that in the link. But good race. However, the Lamborghini just disappeared at the front. Didn't really have any main rivals this time around, did it? Domination.
And that's we saw the same sort of thing from Mercedes at Mazzano, and that. It was shocking to see that, but then for Mercedes to turn up here at a track where they actually did pretty well last year, and be just really there or thereabouts, they weren't even anything special. But those Lamborghinis, they were on it.
Well, one of the Lamborghinis was on it, and the other one, I think I sent you a picture when I was watching the race, of this big green tractor holding up a mile of traffic. That's pretty much what the second Lamborghini reminded me of there. He was just the cork in the bottle. Nobody could overtake him, and it really did. I think out in the lead, he was going something like 1.5 seconds a lap faster than the rest of the field. But not to take anything away from him. I think he had the pace regardless of whether and his teammate, of course, eventually got overtaken. I think he lost spots in the pits from memory, come out 4th, 5th or whatever, and it really didn't make a huge amount of difference. But by that point, he was 4,500 kilometres up the road and just could pretty much cruise, monitor the pace and all the rest. But it was quite humorous to see, but hugely dominating performance by that.
It was, and it was good to see a lot of the cars up there. So your Audis were back. The M6 showed good form. The Mercedes was
until it parked at the end of the pit lane.
Well, yeah, we'll look past that. But I mean, one of them still did. One of them still did finish in 5th in the main race.
And that wasn't his fault for parking at the end of the pit lane. He kind of turned into it. Mind you, the second turn, I think they reviewed and they determined that car actually, out of aggression, kind of steered back into him. Is that right? Am I remembering this correctly?
It was a bit of a cluster, that one. So I mean, I just sort of looked at that and thought, right, I'm going to leave that one as is. But it was good because you had the McLarens, the Bentleys, everyone was up there and thereabouts. I mean, qualifying was covered by 1 second. Which we'll leave out the fact that the Lamborghini was half a second faster than anyone else, but the rest of the field was covered by half a second. So it shows that the balance of performance at that sort of a track is, and it's not a very easy track to overtake.
Sorry, just stop you there. What did you say? The balance of performance.
Yeah.
Just say that bit again. Sorry, you cut out.
The balance of performance.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Right. Okay. Sure. Sorry, you just cut out.
Sorry. So the balance of performance was really good for the track, and it was good to see. But unfortunately, being Brands Hatch, the risk of going off is very high. The risk of damage is very high. So really, there's probably only 2 main overtaking spots in the whole track. And you've really got to work to get there. So it does make it very hard to overtake at that sort of place. But it's good racing. I always enjoy it. There was another massive off by the number 44 McLaren, who went off after Ascari at Monza during the endurance round and destroyed the entire front end. Well, they ran the curb in practice in this one and went in nose first into the wall and destroyed the entire front end again. So it was a massive amount of damage, and the car was obviously ruled out for the weekend. And apparently it's done for good now. So
really, the car's actually gone.
Yeah. So they've had to get.
I'm not that surprised seeing the damage actually.
Yeah, it was a big hit. So that was unfortunate. But keeping to the Australian theme, young Caitlin Wood was making her debut at the track with Ryder Engineering in the Lamborghini, and her co-driver Marco put the Lamborghini heavily into the wall at the same place as McLaren did, and took that car out for the weekend as well. So she never really got.
Speaking of, no, that's it. And speaking of unfortunate, again, something else I brought up to you earlier. The Bentley, I can't remember which car it was, but one of the Bentleys had the panel at the rear. It was part of the rear spoiler. I think was flapping and rubbing on the tire, and there was smoke coming off. And this was early in the race. This must have been lap 2 or 3 or something like that.
I think it was. I think it was one of the ISR Audis that ran
into the Bentley. Yeah. And was it the Andy Soucek Bentley?
Not sure.
No, I can't remember either, but whatever it was, he had it rubbing on his tyre, and there was smoke coming up. They showed it for a bit, but he kept racing, no pitting, anything like that, and he obviously put his head down and decided he wanted to try and get to the pit window, and the very lap that the pit window opened up, he actually got the puncture. He'd lasted something like 36 laps. He lasted with that thing rubbing on his back tire.
Would have been about 36 minutes.
36 minutes, sorry, not laps, minutes. And he made it all the way to the lap that it opened, and then he got a puncture. So I was gutted for him. He'd done such a good job just sort of hanging on to it. And
considering he would have been able to pit that lap and obviously get rid of that tyre and everything would have been fine. Yeah. But hell of a place to lose it though, going into turn 1 at Brands Hatch. That's that's not ideal.
No, it's not. So I did feel sorry for him, but I couldn't remember which Bentley it was. It might have been the Abril one, but anyway, thought I'd bring that up. It was a bit of an unfortunate incident. So But anyway, thank you to everyone that has joined us for this episode. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. And of course, feel free to check out all of our podcasts and links to everything on our website, which is at www.flagtoflag.ml. And of course, check out this YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're already on it. Follow the link. All our podcasts are there and any other videos. And of course, last but not least, thank you very much for joining me, Ryan and Willie.
No worries at all.
Thank you.
Well, we'll look forward to talking to you all next time. Bye for now.